think on the Divine Spirit and pray for the welfare of the whole humanity. Shanti Shanti Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Pratyorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God Incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from unreal to the real, to lead us from darkness to light, to give us peace and joy. Sri Ramakrishna has said many things which are useful to our spiritual practice. Every day, number of devotees would come and hear him. They would feel immense peaceful and joy in his company. Particularly weekends, lots of people would take the opportunity to come to Dakshineshwar and spend time with him. Sri Ramakrishna has given number of ideas. It is just like an ocean. We should take how much we can take. It is inexhaustible. Every word Sri Ramakrishna spoke had tremendous spiritual significance. So studying his life itself is a great sadhana for us. For it inspires us to go in our spiritual way. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to the devotees. His arm was hurt, he got injured. So now and then he would speak about the injured arm. But at the same time, he would always speak about spiritual ideas which are very important. So the injury on his body never bothered him. So referring to that, he was talking to the devotees. He said, joys and sorrows of the body are inevitable. As long as you have got body, something will be there. some problem will be there, some pain will be there. And Sri Ramakrishna observed, God places one sometimes in happiness and sometimes in misery. So when you know the fact, things are like this, then we should be able to get over the effect of that. What is this body? Desire concretized his body. We have taken this body to work out something. So we have come here in this body as if we have committed to do certain things, and we are doing it forcefully. Even though you may not like it, you will do it because the inherent tendencies are so strong. They pull you, they force you to commit doing things. Another way of looking at it, pain and pleasure come, unpleasant things happen, causing us suffering. It's true, but suffering is compared to fire. It removes countless past impressions from one's mind. Suffering has that effect. It is eye-opener. It awakens you to the reality. It makes you think seriously about your life. So we see in this world always pain and pleasure playing upon us every moment. This moment I am happy, next moment I am not happy. This moment I am suffering, next moment I am in a different way. So we are pulled alternately between pain and pleasure. So pain is there as an opposite to pleasure. So one who is conditioned by desires and ignorance feels pain because you yourself conditioned by innumerable all sorts of desires. What happens is the man clings to pleasures. What is the meaning of clinging? He identifies himself with body, with the mind. Because of his identification, he causes an imbalance which leads him to pleasure now and pain again in their full intensity. So when you transcend this level, you will find that both pleasure and pain get neutralized, and that's what we should do. That's the real remedy. Taking drugs and having some temporary cure is one thing. But if we want to remove the seeds of suffering, pain and pleasure, etc., you have to find out the method of neutralizing both. Once you neutralize them, you are free of them. So here is the case study before us. Sri Ramakrishna's life itself is there, presenting himself in all aspects. You will see when you study his life how Sri Ramakrishna was suffering intensely of throat cancer. But in spite of that suffering, he never lost his balance. He was never imbalanced. He could any moment neutralize. That is the spiritual glory which Sri Ramakrishna had accomplished in his life. He said, referring to the throat cancer, referring to that pain, he said, when his mind is unified with God, that is, when he sits for meditation, the suffering of the body is left aside. No more suffering, no suffering at all. Because he is not clinging to the body at all. He has separated himself from the body-mind mechanism. That's the point. So what are the causes of imbalance? Desires and ignorance. So the desires and ignorance which cause the imbalance and individuality have no existence apart from the mind. All these things show up on account of the mind. Mind is the forum on which these display. Mind is like TV screen where all these things are showing up. But then, mind has no existence apart from the soul. Without the Atman, mind cannot function by itself. Like waves which are not separate from the ocean, although they may each have an individual form. Therefore, the individualized state, with its pleasures and pains, all the suffering and so many things which we perceive in this world, all these things are in mind alone. But the mind per se is unconscious and unintelligent and derives the attributes of consciousness and intelligence by reflection from the soul, which alone is pure consciousness. So it means how the pain is experienced, it is because by the conjunction of the mind with the soul, that embodied state and pain are experienced. And conjunction occurs due to ignorance of the true nature of the soul. And this in turn brings in its train egoism, attachment, aversion and attachment to life, which are classified as kleshas, afflictions. These are the direct cause of pain. If you have to be free from pain altogether, you have to be freed from all these kleshas, afflictions. These again are not to be found in the soul, but only in the mind. Each time there is a perception, feeling or thought, there is a reaction in the mind, like a wave. And when the embodied soul identifies itself with this, there arises ego and personality with their inherent desires and aversions. These in turn bring into being the causal chain of karma. And one painful situation is the cause of another. So what is the remedy? So many methods are there. Two main ways are given. One is Vedantic approach, the way of knowledge, the practice of discrimination, Vivek, between true reality and the apparent one. Renunciation of all elements of the apparent reality, which he finds to be the non-self, and by constant meditation. It is the willful withdrawal of the reflected consciousness from the mirror of the mind waves we can achieve this. This results in the disjunction of the true self or soul from the body-mind mechanism. And the person abides in his own blissful nature, full of peace and free from pain. Such a mind, deprived of its reflected consciousness, ceases to exist as mind and no longer has any relation to personality or ego. Then the question of pain doesn't arise, because where there is no ego, there can be no pain. A modification of this method is given in the Upanishads and by the great sage Patanjali Maharshi in the Yoga Sutras. It consists in the conscious entity, the self, taking the position of a witness of phenomena and being aware that in any perception, feeling or experience, the reality is not to be found in the experience, but in the experiencer. The feeler and the perceiver. That is, what is seen is not the real, but the seer is the real. The conscious self, that is real. What is heard is not the real, but the hearer is real. What is felt is not the real, but the feeler is real. What is thought is not the real, but the thinker is real. He is the witness, the true, the inner controller. Thus there is no involvement in participation of or attachment to the experience, and neither pleasure nor pain will be experienced as such. So the wave of the mind, deprived of the power of the self, will subside and cease to be troublesome. Now, to get into this state, we have to struggle a bit. You have to rise the level of the mind from tamasic to rajasic, and from rajasic to sattvic mode. It's only when you are able to establish well in the sattvic mode, you will be able to disidentify yourself with the phenomena. That is why you feel immense joy and peace and bliss in samadhi. In samadhi state, you are in perfect sattvic mode. Even in samadhi, there are different stages of samadhi. But ordinarily speaking, whatever samadhi you may have, savikalpa, visions of God, the mind is raised to different level of consciousness, so we experience that. So this is one way of getting rid of this troublesome pain and pleasure we see in this world, in the life. The second way to cope with pain is by love and devotion to God. Bhakti. One is through jnana, another is through bhakti. You can have any approach. By directing these feelings to God, pain is transformed and sublimated. The mind waves are identified with God by means of a strong feeling of love for Him in a relationship of mother, father, friend, servant, child and beloved. When the mind thus is able to concentrate on God, it becomes pure. So once you have attained that state of purity, you are no more bothered by these dualities. Chitoshna, sukha-dukha, labha-labha. All these things, they become trash. You don't care for them. Just you don't care. So Sri Ramakrishna here is giving a wonderful solution, giving his own life in front of us as an experiment. He also lived the life as we live in this world. He also had to undergo all sufferings in the body as we have, but still he maintained his equilibrium. He never lost his balance. We are constantly suffering because we are constantly imbalanced. So, it is very important how you keep your mind in proper position, in upright position. What is meaning of upright position? Either directing the mind to the path of knowledge or engaging the mind in devotional practices, whatever way you want. If you don't do that, then be ready to embrace all suffering. There is no end for suffering, no end. There is no end for anything in this creation because everything leads to infinity. There is no period at all. So, I have given these comments on this most important subject of crossing this pain and pleasure axis. Still some more points are there which I would like to discuss in the next class. Chapter 20, page number 400. Rules for householders and monks. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room at Dakshineshwar with many devotees. Among them were Mani Malik, Mahendra Kaviraj, Balaram, M, Bhavanath, Rakal, Latu and Harish. The master's injured arm was in a splint. In spite of the injury, he was constantly absorbed in samadhi or instructing the devotees. Mani Mallik and Bhavanath referred to the exhibition which was then being held near the Asiatic Museum. They said, many Maharajas have sent precious articles to the exhibition, gold couches and the like. It is worth seeing. Master said to the devotees with a smile, yes, you gain much by visiting those things. You realize that those articles of gold and the other things sent by Maharajas are mere trash. That's a great gain in itself. When I used to go to Calcutta with Hriday, he would show me the Viceroy's palace and say, look, uncle, there is the Viceroy's palace with the big columns. The mother revealed to me that they were merely clay bricks laid one on top of another. God and His splendor. God alone is real. The splendor has but a 2 days existence. The magician and his magic all become speechless with wonder at the magic, but it is all unreal. The magician alone is real. The rich man and his garden. People see only the garden. They should look for its rich owner. Mani Mallik said to the master, what a big electric light they have at the exhibition. It makes us think how great he must be who has made such an electric light. Master said to Mani, but according to one view, it is he himself who has become everything. Even those who say that are he, it is Satchidananda itself that has become all, the creator, Maya, the universe and living beings. The conversation turned to the museum. Master said to the devotees, I visited the museum once. I was shown fossils. A whole animal has become a stone. Just see what an effect has been produced by company. Likewise, by constantly living in the company of a holy man, one verily becomes holy. Mani said smilingly, had you visited the exhibition only once, we could receive instruction for 10 or 15 years. Master said with a smile, how so? You mean illustrations? Balaram said, no, you shouldn't go. Your arm won't heal if you go here and there. Master said, I should like to have 2 pictures. One of a yogi seated before a lighted log, and another of a yogi smoking hemp and the charcoal blazing up as he pulls. Such pictures kindle my spiritual consciousness as an imitation fruit awakens the idea of a real one. The obstacle to yoga is lust and gold. Yoga is possible when the mind becomes pure. The seat of the mind is between the eyebrows, but its look is fixed on the navel and the organs of generation and evacuation. That is to say, on lust and gold. But through spiritual discipline, the same mind looks upward. What are the spiritual disciplines that give the mind its upward direction? One learns all this by constantly living in holy company. The rishis of olden times lived either in solitude or in the company of holy persons. Therefore, they could easily renounce lust and gold and fix their minds on God. They had no fear, nor did they mind the criticism of others. In order to be able to renounce, one must pray to God for the willpower to do so. One must immediately renounce what one feels to be unreal. The rishis had this willpower. Through it they controlled the sense organs. If the tortoise once tucks in its limbs, you cannot make it bring them out even by cutting it into 4 pieces. The worldly man is a hypocrite. He cannot be guileless. He professes to love God, but he is attracted by worldly objects. It doesn't give God even a very small part of the love he feels for lust and gold. But he says that he loves God. To Mani Malik, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Give up hypocrisy." Mani said, "Regarding whom? God or man?" Master said, "Regarding everything. Man as well as God. One must not be a hypocrite." How guileless Bhavanat is. After his marriage, she came to me and asked, "Why do I feel so much love for my wife?" Alas, he is so guileless. Isn't it natural for a man to love his wife? This is due to the world-bewitching Maya of the Divine Mother of the universe. A man feels about his wife that he has no one else in the world so near and dear, and that she is his very own in life and death, here and hereafter. Again, how much a man suffers for his wife, still he believes that there is no other relative so near. Look at the sad plight of a husband. Perhaps he earns 20 rupees a month and is the father of 3 children. He hasn't the means to feed them well. His roof leaks, but he has not the wherewithal to repair it. He cannot afford to buy new books for his son. He can't invest his son with a sacred thread. He begs a few pennies from his different friends. But a wife endowed with spiritual wisdom is a real partner in life. She greatly helps her husband to follow the religious path. After the birth of 1 or 2 children, they live like brother and sister. Both of them are devotees of God, his servant and his handmaid. Their family is a spiritual family. They are always happy with God and his devotees. They know that God alone is their own, from everlasting to everlasting. They are like the Pandava brothers. They do not forget God in happiness or in sorrow. The longing of the worldly minded for God is momentary, like a drop of water on a red-hot frying pan. The water hisses and dries up in an instant. The attention of the worldly minded is directed to the enjoyment of worldly pleasure. Therefore, they don't feel yearning and restlessness for God. People may observe the Ekadashi on 3 ways. First, the waterless Ekadashi, they are not permitted to drink even a drop of water. Like an all-renouncing religious mendicant, completely gives up all forms of enjoyment. Second, while observing the Ekadashi, they take milk and sandesh. Likewise, a household devotee keeps in his house simple objects of enjoyment. Third, while observing the Ekadashi, they eat luchi and chakka. They eat their full. They keep a couple of loaves soaking in milk, which they will eat later on. A man practices spiritual discipline, but his mind is on lust and gold. It is turned towards enjoyment. Therefore, in his case, the spiritual discipline does not produce the right result. Hazara used to practice much japa and austerity here, but in the country he has his wife, children and land. Therefore, along with his spiritual discipline, he carried on the business of a broker. Such people cannot be true to their word. One moment they say they will give up fish, but the next moment they break their vow. Is there anything that a man will not do for money? He will even compel a Brahmin or a holy man to carry a load. In my room, sweets would turn bad. Still, I could not give them away to the worldly minded. I could accept dirty water from others, but not even touch the jar of a worldly person. At the sight of rich people, Hazra would call them to him. He would give them long lectures. He would say to them, you see, Rakkal and the other youngsters, they do not practice any spiritual discipline, they simply wander about merrily. A man may live in a mountain cave, smear his body with ashes, observe fasts and practice austere discipline. But if his mind dwells on worldly objects, on lust and gold, I say shame on him. But I say that a man is blessed indeed who eats, drinks and roams about, but who keeps his mind free from lust and gold. Pointing to Mani Malik, Sri Ramakrishna said, there is no picture of a holy man at his house. Divine feeling is awakened through such pictures. We shall stop here. Suffering is there. By all means you help to remove that suffering. Wonderful. In that act you feel yourself a kind of fulfillment. That fulfillment leads you towards a state of equilibrium. You feel a kind of satisfaction in yourself that you could render some help according to your means to relieve the person from suffering. So what I mean to say is why I am going to the anatomy of the suffering. Why the suffering comes? What is it due to? Suffering is there. It's all right. Just like disease is there, it doesn't mean that a disease will let him die. No, I don't mean that. If the disease is there, give good treatment, consult the best doctor, take all the treatment required, get cured. That's true. But I am telling you why that disease came. What was responsible for that? Why there is so much of crime and violence in a country where the high technology, high scientific advancement is there, particularly in America. It's a world power. Nobody can deny it. It's fantastic. But in spite of all this upward development in material sense, how on the other side they are going to the lowest level of violent crimes and brutal actions, etc., etc. So, you may try to remove suffering. How long you do? How much you can do? How much you can do? The whole world is full of suffering. Even millions of births you may take, you will not be able to give relief to all suffering people. You can do a little bit of what you can do, that's all. But community-wise, if all people join together, we can definitely chalk out a plan, we can minimize the suffering in a general way. That's also important. It should be tackled by all methods. Why not we have some kind of method by which our children could be properly trained from the beginning, not when everything is lost, you are going to change them, you are going to control them. No. When the plant is tender, you can, in whatever way you want, you can give the shape to the plant. But when it grows big, you can't do anything. It becomes brittle, very hard, You can't do anything. In these children, where is the value? We have lost all values in life. We have no family value. We have no community value. We have nothing. Completely, we have become more and more selfish. How far it gives me joy. How far I myself, how I enjoy life. Why there is crime? Because he wants to enjoy himself much. So all subjectified. Because he is so much concentrated on himself. So, because this selfishness is the cause of all suffering. So, as far as we are concerned, suppose I want to do some help, rendering some service. Good. Doing that way, being selfless, it's good. Not only you are bringing some relief to the person who is suffering, you are also elevated, spiritually speaking. That's good. That's the way we should do. It's not that we should close our eyes and keep quiet. No. But in spite of doing your service, you can't be sure whether you have removed the suffering at all. You do thy duty. That's all. Leave the result to God. Yeah, that means it requires training. That means it should come from the beginning of your childhood. Even to know that you have to learn takes a long time. When you know that you have to learn, it's already too late for you to learn anything. Probably you have to learn in your next life. Where is the time and energy to learn? That's one thing. And the question of learning, that idea came to you because you are seeing the suffering. So you want to probe why this suffering is there like that. I want to know it. That way you are trying to learn yourself. There are various methods. But everybody has to learn. He has to. He or she. There is no way. If you don't learn, be ready to suffer. That's all. Matter is simple. If you learn, you can minimize suffering, or you can transform suffering into a kind of blessing. Suffering is a blessing in disguise, if you understand it properly, if you analyze it properly and learn the things. But the idea is you must transcend all your limitations, transcend all your narrow, fanatical ideas, etc. Be open-minded. The whole universe, with all its contents, belongs to the divine supreme spirit. I am part of that. That feeling itself should give you happiness. I am the part of that. Let me share whatever I can do with my little finger, little help I can do, let me do it. It's not that you are going to straighten the world. With what little you can do, you feel yourself blessed. Because to that extent you have become selfless. The moment you become selfless, your consciousness opens for you. You will understand the immense capability of your personality. Body and mind, they function according to their constituents, whatever way they are built up. So now, if you know that subject, then you deal with it accordingly. That's all the thing. Each body, each mind differs in its function. What is easy for me may be difficult for you. So, you can't have hard and fast rule applicable to every body. There is flexibility, but in a general way, we give the ideas. But you have to experiment it on your own life, according to your own way of understanding things, and try to find out solution. It's not difficult, only you have to be very watchful about what you want to do. Because you are aspiring for the highest fruit, the most precious fruit which you can ever think of, that is peace. It's not a joke to get unless you are completely prepared for it. We shall conclude. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart known to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and Soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue. The playthings of lust are the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, and my heart burns away with its desire. And the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy, may the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity. May holy man live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.